morning, crypto fans! Sorry about that. I thought about doing that this morning on the school run, and I just couldn't get it out of my head, so I thought I'd have to do it. Nice little shout out there to the late, great Robin Williams. Today, I want to bring your attention to the upcoming ICO for Bloom. Now, full disclosure, I am a complete and utter fanboy when it comes to Bloom. I worked in the financial services space. If you watched my video yesterday when I did the ICO review of Crypto 20, I explained a little bit about my background and how I've worked in financial services in the past. Part of that time was spent working offshore, dealing with credit and trying to help people acquire mortgages when they're moving from one jurisdiction to another. So this is a particular project that kind of caught my attention. Now, the great thing about Bloom is everything. I think, having gone through the project, having looked at everything, I think this is a great find, and I'm really looking forward to going through this with you now. I'm going to go through quite quickly. There is a lot of information to cover. If there's anything you want to get a bit more information on, just pause the video, read, and go through. Before I start, I'd really appreciate if you just take the time to like this video, wait to the end, like it, but do subscribe. There's going to be more ICO reviews, more market updates coming soon, so strap in. So, Bloom website, hellobloom.io. Really good website, really well put together. Now, what Bloom is looking to do is Bloom is looking to address the main issues in the financial services world globally. There are a lot of people in the world who can't bank. There are a lot of people who can't get credit, and there's a lot of people in developed markets who can't obtain credit. I'll give you an example. When I worked offshore, I had British nationals living in South Africa who we couldn't provide credit for because we couldn't identify them, or people in Australia because they have PO boxes. They don't have you can't obtain proof of address. So it's an absolute nightmare because different jurisdictions work in different ways. So to have a universal system in which you can identify people, that's half the battle. Once you identify them, you can then start thinking about how we rate these people. How do we build credit ratings? And that's what Bloom is looking to try and solve with blockchain. The main issues they address here, so there's high problems with identity theft, there's cross-border credit scoring, which I just mentioned, creditworthiness assessment. How does someone in Britain assess someone in America, for instance? So the two systems don't line up. Limited liability. So you've got a lot of people in developing world who would like to borrow money. There's loads of people in the developed world who would like to get a better return. So what this project allows you to do is potentially facilitate the mechanism for lenders to be able to do that in the future. Sorry, I'm feeling quite handsy today. I think what it also does is it challenges credit scoring. Now, having worked in the lending industry previously, I know a few things. For instance, in the UK, it might surprise you that there is one of the largest banks in the UK doesn't actually report to Experian. It retains all the info. When it does credit searches, it will search the rest of the market, but it doesn't provide that information to other companies. So there's a bit of protectionism there. With this new credit scoring system, there is a new way of looking at it. There's also the problem of, you almost need to have credit to get credit. So what Bloom are looking at is different ways of actually assessing people's creditworthiness, like 18-year-olds. What reputational information is available. So there's many things that they can look at. The Bloom protocol is based on Bloom ID, so identifying people, Bloom IQ, and Bloom score, which I'll go through in a bit more detail in the white paper. It also covers it here. So Bloom ID lets users establish a global federated identity, independent from third parties. So you have one identity that you'll take away or take around with you around the world. Bloom IQ is a system for reporting and tracking current and historical debt obligations that are tied to a user of Bloom ID. And then Bloom Score is a dynamic and inclusive indicator of individuals likelihood to pay debts that adapts to the maturity of a user's credit score. And I think that's brilliant. Having this global score that follows is fantastic. Now, to operate the system, there is going to be a token called BLT, or the Bloom token, and as this great website shows, the token is used for protocol voting, so serves as a voting mechanism for institutions to make changes to the Bloom scoring phases and algorithms. It also allows people to be paid for being accredited testers, and also working as a currency for the network as well. So say for instance, if someone wants to pay for a particular credit score, they'll say, well, I want to pay a third party, maybe a motor company wants to do a credit score, they can then pay for the credit score, and the particular party will be paid in Bloom tokens. They're also going to be looking at releasing a Bloom card, which again is covered in the white paper. And they've got a really good details in relation to their timeline, which again I'll go through in a little bit later. The team, very strong. They all pretty much know each other, the key guys. A few of them live together. They're all out of Stanford University, the majority of them. Jesse is really the key guy, is the CEO. I've spoken to Jesse quite a bit on Slack. Really nice guy, and I think he's a big selling point for the actual project itself. Yeah, they've got a load of exposure. They've been mentioned in Forbes, HuffPost. I think they're in a real. It's very strange to see an ICO with this much coverage so early on from institutions and big companies. It'd be interesting to see how this ICO takes off. Now, recently they've had a load of news, and I think this is really worthwhile covering. So Joey Krug recently joined the team as an advisor. Joey, like Jesse, is actually a Thiel fellow. Joey's actually a co-founder of Augur, so big name to bring in. I mention him now just because they do have some other really good advisors, but because Joey's recent, he's not in the white paper. Other recent news, they've had some really good tie-ups. So ETHLend is another ICO that's going through. They're going to be looking to do lending on the Ethereum blockchain. They've actually had a tie-up. So ETHLend are looking to use Bloom IQ and the credit scoring. Lend it again, looking to use the credit scoring. One of the things that's really worth mentioning at this stage as well is when you're lending money, one of the things you really have to be wary of is KYC. So you can't just create a platform on the blockchain and then say, right, let's lend people money and let's base it on lend them a little bit, then lend them a bit more, because there's this real big problem called money laundering. Now, if you don't have controls in place, you will just get shut down wherever you are. Even if you're in Cayman, the FBI will find a way to shut you down. You cannot launder money in this way. So what Bloom does is it offers all these lending platforms, it offers them an ability to just come, take the bits that they want from Bloom and use it. And that is going to be fantastic because they're going to have to use the Bloom tokens to do that. And companies are recognizing that now. So even in the blockchain space, we're seeing, companies like ETHLend, looking at this as a great solution within the blockchain space. Everex are also looking to do the same as well. One of the ones that I did see that was quite interesting, a fund area as well, was GEMS. So GEMS is looking to use Bloom for reputational screening, which again is another fantastic opportunity for for the project, because for instance, if you've say for instance you're going to work for the Ministry of Defence in the UK, they have to do screening. Now that's just quite a unique position. But also, if you're going to be a lawyer or if you're going to be a financial advisor, there's got to be ways of finding, what type of person is this, this person we're looking to employ. So we're going to have another way of actually screening people. Now, and another big announcement is they've just got the former chief scientist of Experian on board as an advisor to Bloom. 20 years of experience. I know this was it's quite a big bit of news. It just shows the intent of what Bloom are looking to do. And I think Jeffrey formerly reported directly to the CEO, was in charge of making products for the platform. So it's fantastic news again. So everything moving in the right direction. I mentioned obviously the team, Joey from Augur and also Jesse are actually Thiel Fellows. Now, if you're not aware of what the Thiel Fellowship is, it's actually an award given to young people coming through university. They're given $100,000 over 2 years to help them with their research and their projects. Just to give you an idea of some of the notable recipients, we have one, Vitalik Buterin, of co-founded something called Ethereum, if you've heard of it. So it just shows the quality of the team behind Bloom, and kind of why I got so excited when I first looked at it. So what we'll do is have a quick look through the white paper. I know not a lot of people like to go through the white paper. It's really important. What I try to do for you is take out the important bits. I think within the white paper they point out reasons why they saw the opportunity to help people. 3 billion people unable to obtain credit. 91% of residents in developing nations experience difficulty receiving debt financing. 38% of the world's population do not have a bank account. A few of the things we mentioned earlier, cross-border credit scoring, the way in which they're looking to change creditworthiness assessments, having no borders, being able to tear down borders for lending, identity theft, uncompetitive credit scoring ecosystem. There is literally 3 companies kind of have the market cornered in America and probably in the UK as well. So their protocol components are Bloom ID, Bloom IQ, Bloom Score. This is what really makes up the system. And it just shows you a little graph there about how it all works, how Bloom Score, Bloom IQ. Again, pause if you wish and have a read. Now, attestation is where you, in effect, the way the system will work is you have the nodes that will operate the system. There will be no new tokens, so you have these nodes, and institutions will be paid for providing information. So that's what keeps the system moving. So verification will be things like electronic ID verification, documentary verification, social verification, sanction screening, which is really, really important. Whenever you lend money, you need to make sure that the person you're lending money to is not part of a sanction. They're not, maybe anything to do with Crimea. Politically exposed people will be someone who is a member of parliament, someone who potentially is a member of a royal family. So these are all things that you have to do whenever you're lending money. Again, it just covers peer-to-peer attestation and vouching. I think the key thing really, revealing creditworthiness through relationships is quite important. As I mentioned earlier, there are some banks that don't actually provide information. They take it, but they don't actually give anything back. So this provides an incentive for people to vouch, or companies to vouch for individuals. Bloom IQ, reliability score, peer score, number of loans taken out. So one of the things that they'll look at is when they're assessing someone's creditworthiness, is they'll look at what loans they've taken through Bloom, past identity checks that are done, and which could be very useful. And again, there's quite a lot of detail there in relation to how they actually work out the loan risk assessment life cycle, which something I've dealt with in the past, and I can confirm it's not very interesting, but feel free to have a read. Now, the Bloom token, as mentioned before, works as a currency. It's distributed to help scoring enhancements. They're going to use it for the invitation system to try and get people on initially. So when companies come to the network, they will actually have to buy a significant stake of Bloom to actually become attesters themselves and become accrediting attesters. The other thing that's quite interesting is they're actually looking to use or create a Bloom card. Now, they're not looking to compete with the other cards, but we've got to remember a lot of the other cards are actually debit cards. They're actually looking to create a true credit card that can be used as a debit card, but it's going to be used really to prove the use case. They're not looking to become a major large-scale credit provider, but I think it's, I'll be hoping to get one, put it that way. Looking to operate the card in Bitcoin, Ethereum to US dollar, and looking to get the best rate possible at that time. And also facilitate peer-to-peer lending, which will be quite interesting. As I mentioned, Jesse is a Thiel Fellow. Other advisors I thought were quite interesting as well. The whole team are. I could be here all day talking about the team, but another big one that stands out for me is Joseph, co-founder of District X. Very, very informative white paper. Now, looking at the actual tokens, they're actually looking to raise $50 million, which for me, I always like ICOs that are raising around about 15 million, 20 million. So that would normally worry me. But I think what you've got to remember here is the scale of the project that they're looking to take on. They're looking to replace not only the credit scoring companies, they're looking to facilitate lending, potentially direct lending. You also have the potential of here, if you've got Bloom IQ, you've got to ask yourself, why do you need Civic? So there's potential market cap that can be taken from other companies as well. 75 million or 50% of the tokens will be distributed to ICO participants. 40% will be locked in a multi-sig wallet for future development, and then 10% will be distributed to the community, which I think is great. No new BLT tokens will be created. I mentioned the war chest that they require. They mention here about the amount of money that was spent by PayPal in the early days to actually acquire new customers. What they're going to have to do is use a lot of this money to kind of prove the network works, and also to get companies on board, to help them build their lending ecosystem for peer-to-peer lending, and also help them in their ability to provide a long-term view. If they just raise 15 million, it doesn't provide much security for raising money in the future. And if they just have to issue more tokens at a later stage, then how much stability does that bring to you as a long-term holder of Bloom? I think the team have got experience of managing this amount of capital. If you look at their CVs, again, really recommend it. It's really, really interesting characters. And I think that with their experience, they'll be able to manage this. Well, the other thing I like about them is their roadmap. They have got some history of delivering early. Now, they've completed beginning work with 5 initial lending partners, which Ethland, Fundry, Selflender, which we mentioned earlier. They've also completed secure protocol expansion outside of lending, which was originally going to be April 2018. Other things they're looking to do, they've got the Bloom invitation system and voting. That's complete. Token sales ready. Tokens become transferable. Yes, that's already. So Bloom identity matching is currently ahead of schedule, and the timeline was Q1 2018. So maybe we'll see that in December, maybe early Q1. So looking to deploy applications allowing users to verify their identity. So other lending partners could start using this quite soon for the identity side. Credit staking, peer-to-peer staking modules will be built first, so they're on schedule for Q1 2018. Bloom Score and IQ creditworthiness assessment, Q2 2018. As I mentioned, they have a history of delivering early. Lending tests for lending partners, early Q2. So as you can see there, they've got a lot of stuff that's coming in the first half of next year, and I would not be surprised if we see all of this coming through quite quickly. Q3, really, we're seeing lending partnerships programs, so looking to bring in new partners to do loans, and also bringing in their own credit card as well. For me, I see Bloom almost like a coil spring ready to go off. I think you can sense my enthusiasm. I think this is going to be a really, really good project. Because of my history in this space, I think it is fantastic. A lot of people see blockchain and its ability to solve problems. This is a problem that I've had to deal with, so that's why I love it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do like it if you've enjoyed it, if you found it useful. Subscribe, because at the moment I'm doing pretty much this full time, so there's going to be more ICO reviews coming thick and fast. So just hit the subscribe button, and hopefully I can help you. All the best and good luck.